We're supposed to come up with 5 minutes of something.
5 minutes of nostalgic old humor.
Yeah, old humor, old vaudeville.
Old-fangled humor that's not as hard and sharp and biting as modern humor.
That's right. Not as gross either.
No,
What about Slowly I Turned?
well,
That's a good one. That's a good one. It's foolproof.
there's somebody has got to clean up after us.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The pie.
The custard pie
Yeah,
and the seltzer bottle.
that's right. That's right. That's right. And I'm gonna have my good clothes on. My one suit.
Well,
Hold that tiger, 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 hold that tiger. Where's that tiger? Where's that tiger? Here's that tiger. Where's that tiger? Here's that tiger. Where's that tiger? Here's that tiger.
oh,
Yeah, yeah.
what about the Rube routine?
How does that? I don't remember that one.
Rube comes on and says, I just come down here to the city, and I had just one terrible time getting here. He said, I went down to the railroad station to buy a ticket on the train.
Yeah.
And the man says, how do you want to go? And I said, well, on the train. He said, no, do you want to go in an upper or lower? And I said, well, what's the difference? He says, well, the lower is higher, but the upper is a lot lower. Now, if you don't mind going upper, you can go a lot lower. But if you go lower, then you'll have to go higher. And I said, well, what do you think I ought to do? And he says, well, why don't you go by Buffalo? So I came by Buffalo. I got to town, I got off the train. I was on my way to the hotel, and I saw a bunch of pigeons in the park, and I stopped to admire them. And I kept out into the bushes so nobody would notice me, But
Yeah.
pretty soon one of them spotted me. Hey, a man came up to me and he said, you counting them pigeons? And I said, yeah. He says, how many of them you counted? I said, I've counted 10. He says, well, it's against the law to count them pigeons. It's going to cost you $1 a pigeon. So, all right, I paid him, but I sure slickered him. I'd counted 50 pigeons.
Well, that's a one-man thing, though.
That's a monologue.
That's a monologue.
Well, you could just sit there
That's
and
an
laugh.
Andy Griffith thing.
You could be standing
That's
there and
a
laughing almost.
Slat missing.
Lines that are turned around.
Yeah,
So what we're
and
thinking-
this, we have to get a tall person.
Right, so what we're thinking, John had mentioned that maybe the stage could be over there.
The stage?
Yeah,
Okay.
that we'd put the stage over there and move the tables over here.
Okay, this seems to be
The stage.
outlet here.
Yeah, that's fine. There's two outlets.
All the way around the room.
Yeah, there's two outlets.
What was the one where I picked my toes?
That wasn't Miss Norris Marshall Grissom.
No, that
Wow.
wasn't.
Well, and then there's the. How long does it take a cat to have kittens?
Yeah, but that's a whole skit. I mean, we don't have time to learn that.
And Mary Esther.
And Mary
is dead.
Esther's not here.
We couldn't do it without Mary.
No, Mary Esther was an integral part of that one.
And there, look, there's a space for Bob's picture right there. We've got to get Bob's army picture. We've got to get his army picture up here. One that John took.
We'll just leave it there afterwards, and they won't even notice.
They won't because, they have the celebrities there.
There's so many of the things we've done that have women in it, and then we don't have a woman.
Well, a funny woman.
A funny woman.
We've got
Yeah.
fine women.
Yeah,
But,
but a funny woman.
a funny woman.
Yeah.
They're all, well,
How many did you have for
Well,
us?
we had 26 salmon and 26 roast beef and 1 eggplant.
One eggplant.
one more salmon.
Okay, so we need another salmon there.
27.
Is your
27.
salmon wild or is it, do you know where it is?
Pacific.
Do you know where it's from?
Exactly? No, but I
Farm.
No.
It's probably farm salmon, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I didn't think so.
Oh, one that I almost forgot was the human cannonball. The reluctant human cannonball.
I don't remember that one.
We did it for the Hillside PTA, And
I remember now.
and I introduced you as a father from the PTA,
Yeah.
and that your son had told us that you had been a human
That was at the
cannon.
women's club. It was at the women's club.
And I remember your classic line was, actually, I was a ticket taker and a pocket picker. And we finally got him stuffed into the cannon,
Yeah.
and then we had a great flash, and this dummy that flung across the stage.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I remember that one.
And then you came back in all blackened with your clothes torn. And
Yeah,
it had a finish, but I can't remember it.
I don't remember it either.
Then we have two children that just want a plate of spaghetti.
Oh, wait,
Nothing
okay,
else.
Okay,
nothing
wait a minute.
else.
Am I adding another salmon for?
Yeah.
He says
Yeah,
add
there was
another
added
salmon.
one. Yeah.
That's yours. Oh, that's okay. So it's 27 there. We're going to
27.
check on her.
Right.
27.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
And then
two
we-
orders of spaghetti.
Yeah, but with nothing touching the spaghetti. Nothing can touch the spaghetti.
What do you mean? You want no meat?
No, yeah.
No sauce?
Well, if you put green beans on the plate and it touches the spaghetti, they can't eat it.
Ooh.
Oh, no, we're just.
They're very picky, huh?
Separate plates. They're the last kids of the two families, okay?
Okay.
I found an old tape today of this little sketch that we did for New Year's Eve in 1955.
Oh, wow.
The same night that they had the Chicken Sisters,
Yeah.
and Dick Barthol did the Schooner, and I think Otis Cobb did Ist das nicht ein Schnitzelbank.
Oh, yes.
But this thing that you wrote about
I wrote that?
you wrote it.
I
And-
don't remember writing that at all.
The officious, overbearing radio announcer who's interviewing the most interesting man he ever met,
Oh, yeah.
and the most interesting man he ever met hasn't got anything to say.
Yeah.
As
Oh, I remember that. I remember that.
And I think I've got that on a terrible old recording that I made. I just turned on my.
I'll never forget it.
I'll never forget.
I'll never forget it. Yeah.
The
I'll never
most memorable.
most memorable moment or something.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. And on the other wall, coming out this way, do 1, 2, 3 in the exact same herringbone effect, and then run 2 perpendicular right down the center.
Yeah.
And let's see, how far out would you allow?
Well, the biggest little performance is the Callan family, which is 5.
Well, so if we had that much and could come out to about here or so?
Yeah, well, it's all we need here is 16 feet, so we just need enough room to walk through these 2 tables, so, you know, you'll probably have plenty of space there.
You know, well, like George Burns.
Mm-hmm.
George Burns bouncing off over Gracie Allen. You know, you have to have that. You have to have that. And he let her be the funny one. You let me be the funny one, except that you're funny as a result. As a result of that.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I told Bill that, of the two of us, you're a lot funnier than I am, actually, except that I get the choice lines.
Hello, this is Mimi, and it seems to me that I've been invited to do something with somebody up there, and I can't remember what day it was. I didn't get it written down. Mimi is now calling for a little bit of refreshment on that. Okay? Thank you. 658-9498. Bye-bye.
Well, remember, the people that we worked in were all show people. I mean, they were actors and singers, and so it was natural for us to want to entertain one another. And so that's really the basis of it, is that people ask us to do things. We're having a party. Can you come up with something? And so this is what we came up with on that occasion. But it's because we loved to entertain each other, you know. And we, you know, the Chicken Sisters, for instance, whatever they did, we had seen 50 times before, but we loved it and wanted to do it again. And John and I had done several skits of different kinds. Like I mentioned before, the Man with the Lapel Fan, and that, you know, they know we came up with things because we did things like that. And so they asked us to come up with something.
Now, your mother-in-law.
Oh.
And then, it's who?
Who? Oh, yeah, that's...
See, I say, wasn't your mother-in-law visiting? And you say, yes, my
brother-in-law was there. It was horrible.
I'll never forget it. And then I say, your mother-in-law.
Who?
Wasn't your mother-in-law visiting you at that time? And wasn't your wife there, and your sister, and her husband?
My mother-in-law was there visiting me at the time, Ed, and all those other people. It was terrible. I'll never forget it.
Didn't the radio say that it was the most violent storm to strike the California coast in a decade?
Oh, it was a terrible storm, and there was fish everywhere. Is that the way the fish comes in? Oh, that was it. That was it. Yes,
I remember that you did that marvelous little thing about, it was time, and there was wind.
There was. Give me that again.
Okay.
We'd spend with you, I'll spend with you, these precious days I spend with you. Oh, it's a long, long while from May to December, and the days grow short when you reach September, when the autumn weather turns the leaves to flame. You haven't got time for the waiting game. Oh, the days dwindle down to a precious few.
Cars drive them old trucks, make them be doctors, lawyers, and such. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys, 'cause they'll never stay home and they're always alone, even with someone they love.
We got Bob, miles and six miles from Bob. Laughter with an 80-year guarantee, blue, yellow, green, and Bob. When he was just a baby, he burned his first punchline. He'll still be rolling up in the aisles at 99. So whether you're young, old, shy, bold, neat, or a slob, ain't you glad you got
Bob? You may notice that tonight is a rather musical night. And a lot of you probably didn't know that Bob could sing. Most of the people who know that Bob can't sing are the ones who've heard him sing. But way back in 1955, before I was born, there was a New Year's Eve party, and Bob wrote a sketch for it. And I have always had a lot of feelings about that evening because a lot of important things happened. Cecily had her tonsils out that year, and Bob gave them to me for Christmas. He in the jar of alcohol. So, at New Year's, after Christmas that was, we got some chicken livers and boiled them and served them on Triscuits alongside of the jar. And your friend of ours, eminent pediatrician, Dr. Otis B. Cobb, came in and he picked up one of those Triscuits and he chewed it up and munched it down and said, "There's nothing wrong with those tonsils. The doctor that took those out was a quack."
And it was, let's see, what was the occasion? Oh, at John's birthday party. They did a video of it. And I got up and talked about the old days, you know. I told you about this. But it was, what was very pleasing to me was, even though the material was really not very funny, a lot of times my timing made it funny. Just the pauses, and I was pleased that I still had a sense of timing at the age of 80. And that's what's going to happen to this. The timing is going to be very important in it.
We were all kind of 10 years maybe out of college, and we did a lot of entertaining. We entertained ourselves a lot. Television wasn't much, and radio, there wasn't much left. But there was an interim period where radio and television were fighting it out. And radio, you may be surprised to learn, discovered reality programming. And there were innumerable numbers of programs that featured people telling their real life adventures. And the most popular of these was a program featuring a man named Ed Ralphwords, who interviewed all kinds of unfortunate citizens. They were invited to come on and tell their story, just ripped right from the headlines of life. And so for that occasion, Bob wrote this little sketch, and tonight he will play the part of Mr. Quird, and I will portray the part of Ed Ralphwords. And if I can remember what Ed Ralphwords did, we'll do that. Now, one little moment, and we'll have it ready.
I think they'll just enjoy seeing us both up there, you know, because we're just a couple of old hams, and I think they'll enjoy that. They'll enjoy our enjoyment of it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This evening we have with us Mr. Otis P. Quird, whose life-shaking experience he has come to share with us tonight. Mr. Quird is from West Humboldt Falls of Oakland County in Northern California. Good evening, Mr. Quird.
Hello, Red.
And that's it.
Hello, Ed.
Tell us, what is the life-threatening experience that you are here to tell us about, Mr. Quird?
What?
The terrible thing that happened to you 5 years ago.
Oh, it happened about 5 years ago, and it was terrible. I'll never forget it.
Were you at home?
Yes, I was home alone. No, I wasn't home alone. No. Oh.
Weren't you with your wife and her sister?
No.
You've
lost the place. And you've got a script.
It'll be a lot of good. Wasn't your
mother-in-law visiting you at that time? And wasn't your wife there and your sister and her husband?
My mother was there. Mother-in-law was there visiting me at the time, and those other people.
Wasn't there a raging storm at that time?
Oh, it was terrible. It was a terrible storm. What?
Yes. Didn't your mother-in-law have to get to the station?
My mother-in-law asked me to go to the station, take her to the station.
Didn't the radio say that it was the most violent storm to strike the California coast in a decade?
Oh, it was a terrible storm. My brother-in-law was there.
And your mother-in-law asked you to drive her to the station. What did you say?
No! Oh, yes, yes!
Wasn't there a big argument when your wife said that it was very important for her mother to catch the train, and your brother-in-law and his car was broken and he couldn't go out, and your brother said he was sick, so you were the only one who could go?
Yes, all those things. It was terrible, and I'll never forget it.
And although the roads were underwater and thunder and lightning were crashing around you, you decided to risk it.
I decided to risk it.
So you and your mother-in-law went out into the teeth of the raging storm and got into your convertible, even though the top was down and the battery was dead.
What you said.
And your family all came out into the storm and pushed the car until it started.
And then what?
You went off down the steep hill on the way to the station, swerving and sliding on the muddy road until you came to the canyon at the bottom of the hill and found it flooded.
It was flooded. Oh, fish everywhere. Tuna, sharks, smallmouth bass. There was a flounder on my windshield.
And then your engine stalled.
It did? It did. Oh, barracudas, rock cod, sardines, water. There was water everywhere.
And then your engine stalled.
It did. It did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Again?
Then what happened as you and your mother-in-law sat in the flooded car with the fish in it in the raging storm?
My mother-in-law got out of the car and had to push it to start it. Oh, barracudas, carps, abalone.
Did you get the car started?
Yes, I got the car started, and it roared off into darkness, and going nowhere. It was out of control. It was horrible, and there were shads on the steering wheel, and I was being tossed hither and thither until finally I came to rest on a sandbar. And I stayed there until morning. And then a Coast Guard came with a rescue boat and plucked me.
What an amazing and terrifying story. And tell me, Mr. Quirk, how long was it until you were able to get back and pick up your mother-in-law?
precious days I'd spend with you.
Can't give you anything but love, baby. That's the only thing I've plenty of, baby. Dream a while, scheme a while, you're sure to find happiness, and I guess all those things you always pine for. Gee, I like to see you looking swell, baby. Diamond bracelets Woolworth doesn't sell, baby. Till that lucky day, you know darn well, baby, I can't give you anything but love. I can't give you anything but love, baby.
Can we talk about anything now?
You can talk about anything you want.
All right.
Go ahead, Bob. Say something.